Alongside the great Sean Shelby, I'm Jon Anik. This is the watch list for UFC 207. So a special Friday night pay-per-view offering from the MMA leader. Friday, December 30th at the T-Mobile Arena right here in Las Vegas. Amanda Nunes defending her title for the first time against one Ronda Rousey, who of course returns for the first time since November of 2015.
Yeah, I mean, this is an intriguing fight for all the things we don't know. You know, what has Ronda been doing? Will she return to form? How will she look her first fight back since the Holly Holm fight?
Right.
You know, the one thing you can't deny is her body of work and the years and all the things that she's put into the sport. You know, she was the queen of women's MMA for so many years, and she put it on the map.
Right.
You have two incredibly fast starters. In fact, that was part of the knock on Amanda before, was that she was so fast out of the gate. If you could get out of the first round with her,
right,
then you had a decent chance. You know, but if she got out in front of you and started laying those leg kicks and those jab crosses at you, like she did in her last fight to gain the championship, you're hard pressed to beat her. Now, I think more than anything, she has the confidence, you know, to match her stand-up.
Yeah.
That's very dangerous. And is it as good, or can it stand up to the pressure of Rousey taking her down and working her over on the ground?
It seems like when you poll fighters and experts that a lot of people are, oh, Amanda Nunes as an underdog, where do I sign? Yet nobody's rushing to the sportsbook to bet her necessarily. Ronda Rousey's the favorite right now, and in my mind, deservedly so, but it does seem to me like there's a selective memory here when it comes to Ronda Rousey, and I think people forget just how dominant she was not all that long ago.
Yeah, I mean, that was a tough thing for me, is, you know, my job is really, what I want to do is I want to find the most evenly matched fight. I want to see the odds even on every single fight. That's my goal, right? For Ronda, it was impossible, you know, for so many years.
Right.
But it's a brand new world, you know. Ronda's been gone a year, and the division is, you know, it's growing up, and they caught up. I'm just so intrigued by this fight just because I absolutely do not know what to expect.
And Rousey has certainly kept a low profile, which only adds to the intrigue. She will make the walk Friday, December 30th, right here in Las Vegas. Also on tap, co-main event, co-headliner Cruz putting his UFC bantamweight title on the line against the upstart Cody Garbrandt. And how about Cody Garbrandt? A lot of people forget this guy debuted in the UFC January 2015, and now less than 2 years into the promotion has worked his way to a UFC bantamweight title shot.
I get goosebumps over this fight. This is just an amazing fight. You know, a lot of times for me, when I go and scout guys and want to bring them in, you look at what they've done before, you know, in the combat sports. And for Cody, he wasn't a baby. Look at his body of work in boxing. I mean, 20 or 30 bouts as a boxer. He's an Ohio State wrestling champion. He's got a good resume behind him. So when he came into the UFC, he's a guy that hit the ground running, and I fully expected it. And so he doesn't have as many fights as Cruz, but overall combat experience, he's just as.
Yeah.
And the thing that's most intriguing is you have the most unhittable guy in the division in Cruz, and you have a guy that is just, his boxing dexterity is outstanding, and he can find your chin. And when he does, if he does, in this case, you know, he has all the power to knock you out with one punch.
It's all over! That's it! Just like that!
One way or the other, Dom just uses incredible ring generalship and footwork and outsmarts him in every way. Or you have Cody that's just going to go in there and headhutt.
Garbrandt fights with such a fearlessness. We talk about the power of self-belief in mixed martial arts and in all professional sports, but I don't know that anyone has more self-belief than Cody Garbrandt. And I think when you just go back to that fight week against Thomas Almeida, it was almost like he knew something that we didn't. He just carried himself with such a composure and a focus. It just was hard to believe he was going to be denied that.
The other thing I want to add too is I think, and in talking, you know, all through the years with Dominic, is I don't think there's actually a better analyst as far as breaking down another fighter in the sport.
And I can say, having called fights with 5 different UFC fighters this year, with all due respect, they all have their strengths. But yeah, Cruz, he's the sharpest MMA mind that I have ever come across, you know, in about a decade covering the sport. All right, also as part of the fair at UFC 207, TJ Dillashaw, John Lineker, prevailing wisdom here, at least according to you, that the next championship opportunity could come out of this title eliminator of sorts?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the great thing about the bantamweight division right now is it's on fire. I don't think that there's another division with more contenders, you know, so we'll see what we get out of this fight, but just on paper, regardless of title contendership or not, it's straight fire. I mean, it's all offense
Very exciting fight, TJ Dillashaw and Jon Lineker. And you're right in terms of the UFC bantamweight division. Had you given a title shot to somebody else, I think the masses would have gotten behind it. There's a lot of deserving guys. I mean, Jimmy Rivera, is perfect thus far inside the octagon.
Rivera has been outstanding. You've got Caraway, who's still up there in the top 6. You've got Dodson. So yeah, there's so many guys, and there's guys coming up, that are breaking into the top 10. I'm so happy with the division right now.
All right, final fight I want to get your thoughts on. We'll make it quick here. Johnny Hendricks, Neil Magny in the UFC welterweight division. You got one guy down here, one guy up here, at least in terms of their height. But really an interesting test, I think, for Johnny Hendricks at this stage of his career.
Sure. I mean, I don't know where you can put John right now. He's had some up and downs lately. And then, again, we kind of go back to that theme where it's kind of the old guard versus the new guard. And Magny's a guy, he's had a couple hiccups, but he's still absolutely on his way up. And if you want to be there, the upper echelon, you have to beat a guy, former champion, like Johnny Hendricks.
And of course, Johnny Hendricks, throughout his UFC career, the fights that he's been supposed to win, favored to win, he has emerged and has done just that. All right, that is it for the UFC 207 watch list. If there are topics you want to hear when we spin it forward to UFC 208, you can find Sean on Twitter at Sean Shelby, of course, at UFC as well. Thank you all for watching the UFC 207 watch list. For Sean Shelby, I'm Jon Anik. Enjoy the fights.